So we go on to see that Lot chooses this land that ends up later being a part of his demise. He actually, in this 12 to 15 series section of Genesis, he gets confiscated. He gets essentially abducted by the enemy. And Abram, in his pure intention, goes to save his nephew. He saves his nephew, still under the not understanding, like, God, where is this leading to? Am I ever going to have a son of my own? But he acts on behalf of what God would want him to do. And in that moment, bringing him back in, Melchizedek honors what Abram just did. He honors, and so much so that it is a reflection of Jesus. Because that's who Melchizedek is, like an Old Testament lens on Jesus. If you didn't know this, we're going to study this as we go through. But Melchizedek brought bread and wine. He was a priest and a king. We've talked about this too. We are both priests and kings here on earth. And so Melchizedek is the example of that. He blessed Abram, saying, "Blessed be Abram by God the Most High, the creator of the heaven and the earth, and praise be to the God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." I believe our pure intention will deliver the enemies into our hand, and that we won't have to do some of the things that we are currently doing or we think we need to do in order for victory to transpire. Now, Abram went into war. He went into the battle. He went in to confiscate. So I believe there will be those who are called to go into the battle. He brought 318 of his own men, his own family, the ones which could have completely been diminished in that moment. He was willing to go face the fight because he was purely intended to save his nephew and the line of the family of God. So Abraham gave him a tenth of everything that he owned. Melchizedek, he honored the king and the priest, and you don't see him doing that with the other king of Egypt. So again, intentions. He received from the enemy when Sarai was taken, and now he is giving to this Christ-like incarnate here on earth, this king. Oh gosh, it's so good how you can see someone operate in front of hierarchy with different responses based on intention. Man, y'all, thank you, Lord, for this word. The next part is another element of pure intention. When he is given the opportunity to take, he's given the opportunity to be blessed in the natural. But he says, "I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say that I made Abram rich. I will accept nothing but what the men have eaten and the share that belongs to the men who went with me. Let them have their share." I find that part interesting because he trusted him enough to tithe, but he doesn't want to take anything in response. Now, processing that on what's happening in the four-walled church, what's happening in politics, what's happening in education. There are a lot of things they say, give me and I'll give you. Give me, and out of different intention, I will give you. Now, I don't know Melchizedek's intention with this. I honestly don't know, because he's a king and a priest, and I told you he's Christ-like, so why would Abram not receive? But I think ultimately it comes back to Abram's devout faith. Because at this point, Melchizedek doesn't say that he's a Christ-like incarnate. He's a man. And so with that, he doesn't trust men over trusting God. That's the intention. He says, "No, I'm good. I've got plenty. Please give my men their fair share, what they earned in going in. But I don't want to be linked to you. I don't want to be tied to your ministry, because I've received something from you and now I have to do this thing. I don't want you coming knocking on my door a couple years later to say, I made you. Give me what you got." And that's essentially what Abram is saying here. He's like, no, I'm good. Give them their share. I trust God is going to continue to supply for my every need. Man, I think of business deals. I think of percentages. It makes me think of this like payback thing that's happening. Hey, you didn't pay me back. Not pay me back like you owe someone money, because that's a debt. You're supposed to pay those things back. But like referral fees, and it's interesting, you know? There's a lot of elements of that can get muddy. And if we just have pure intention to serve and to know that there's enough to go around, I mean, ooh, that's a small tangent, but I hope that it sits with you. All right, let's go to the Lord's covenant with Abram. This is God's intention. And this I love so much, but it's ultimately Abram's question that allows God to make this incredible covenant, which he had already established. He already told him that this was going to happen, but he makes it in the natural. Even though Abram's asleep when it happens, he makes it in the natural and establishes what the tradition was, the common practice of covenant sealing, which was to cut the animal in half and to walk through together in order to seal the covenant. But God puts Abram to sleep, and he says, it doesn't even matter what you do. You don't have to walk through, because I am going to seal this covenant in my own ability, in my strength, in my totality, in my greatness. Because this plan will happen, and you, no matter what your intentions are, no matter what you decide to do in your free will choice, my will, God's perfect will be done.